Welcome to the 813 Exchange Podcast. Today we have Sean with RK Roofing. Pleasure to have you on the show.
It's good to be here.
Yeah, so talk about your journey getting into the roofing business. Like, what got you into the roofing business? How did you find the current company that you're working at as being the sales leader? And talk about RK coming down to the Sunbelt state of Florida.
Okay, yeah. So, I was at Sacred Heart University back in 2019, 2020, and then COVID hit, and kind of once everything went online, that was kind of I saw my way out of college. It was just a tough learning environment, everything being remote and online. So, my mom actually, she's been a teacher up in Dover in Dutchess County for coming up on like 26 years now.
Yeah.
And, one of her friends, coworkers that she's worked with, for the past 10 years is my current boss's wife. So once I left Sacred Heart, I was kind of in a limbo. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Places weren't hiring because of COVID and stuff like that. So, my boss was looking for some extra help, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll take it, whatever. At the time, I had aspirations to be a cop. That's kind of what I was going to school for.
Yeah.
And so I took a job with him, and when I started, it was a relatively small company, family owned, and we pretty much only did residential roofing. So I started with him in 2020, just picking up shingles on the ground for like $15 an hour. Just a small gig, but I was with him for probably 6 months or so. Took county police exam and everything, and then like I said, had intentions of going and being a cop. And there was something about roofing that I liked. It was an honest day's work, and that was something that kind of really jived with me. And I've been with him ever since. But the company has grown substantially since then. We started doing a lot more commercial work. That was kind of a big leap of faith for us at the time, because commercial work is, there's higher stakes. It's a higher payout, but there's higher stakes.
Yeah, of course.
You're getting on commercial properties, and it's pretty easy to prevent a residential roof from leaking. Homeowners can do it,
Yeah.
But when you get into the commercial industry, you're dealing with higher stakes. You're dealing with larger commercial properties that are currently occupied by businesses. So any water intrusion can lead to a lot of money lost on that job. And you're also dealing with flat roofing, where water, it's not shedding off of a roof as like it would with a residential house. It can pond, but you need it to be able to withstand it and drain properly. So we started doing a lot more commercial. I'd say probably around like 2021, maybe 2022, and then ever since then it's kind of just taken off. I went from residential to, we started a commercial crew, and it was me and one other guy that started it, and it was kind of a sink or swim, and we took to it pretty well. I mean, my boss provided us with the correct training. We did a lot of work. We currently do a lot of work for Duralast, which is a big PVC manufacturer, and we went to the seminars, the training exercises, and stuff like that with them. So we got to really get comfortable with the system and do it. And ever since then, it's kind of just taken off. We've built great relationships with a lot of big commercial manufacturers, a lot of big GCs. So they keep us pretty busy. But we were doing a lot up north for the past couple of years, and then I'd say the past 2 years or so, we've been starting to get into the Florida market.
Yeah. So do you think, talk about getting into the Florida market, when did that happen for RK? Like, when was RK like, okay, we want to go from New York to Florida? And when you guys made that move, did you guys start trying to gather work before you came down here, or did they just send you down here and they were like, hey, figure it out?
Yeah, so my boss has a pretty good relationship with this guy, Kevin Ryan, who's currently a sales guy for us down here.
Yeah.
He used to work for Newcastle Building Products up in New York, and so that's kind of how the relationship started between my boss and him. And they've known each other probably longer than I've been alive. They've known each other a very long time. And so when he retired from Newcastle, he was obviously very familiar with sales and estimating and stuff like that, and knows the commercial systems when it comes to roofing. So he ended up retiring and moving down here to Melbourne, and we started wanting to get into the Florida market, and I don't really know exactly how the conversation went between Walter and Kevin, But Kevin started, sending out commercial proposals for us and bids to GCs down here just to see, what would stick. And, with the commercial end, it's you don't really get some turnaround for quite some time. It's like throwing crap at a wall and seeing what sticks.
Yeah.
So, he would send stuff out. He was probably sending stuff out for 8-9 months or so. And then we started getting turnaround. We landed an Outback Steakhouse in Orlando. We landed a couple Scooters Coffees in Orlando. And, once that started, we started sending guys down to Florida. And at the time, it was a commercial crew, and I was in the commercial crew as well. So it was, this is probably about 2 years ago, maybe 2022. And it was kind of spaced out to where we were doing most of our work down here in the winter. So, up north in New York, it's stuff, especially in the roofing industry, like really slows down in the winter. Homeowners aren't putting roofs on their house. Commercial properties are not really doing stuff much in the winter. They're kind of waiting to do it in the spring or when it's nice inclement weather, or not so inclement weather.
Yeah, of course.
And so we started coming down here probably 2022, and we started doing a lot more work. It was definitely a lot of back and forth. We'd come down here for 2-3 weeks at a time, do the job, get it to where it needs to be, go back up north, come back down for a couple weeks and stuff like that. And it was a lot of back and forth. And I was always going back and forth between Florida and New York and tying up jobs and finishing stuff up. And I wouldn't say till probably this past spring, it was like, okay, we need guys full time down here.
Yeah.
And so it was myself and then a project manager that we were the ones that came down here. And it's the goal right now is to try and just get the company to a steady point where it's just jobs lined up one after another. I would like to say we're doing a pretty good job with it, but it's definitely a pretty tough market to just show up and start being successful.
Yeah, especially in the commercial atmosphere, because like you guys are gonna have to find the GCs who are hired by the developers, who are hired by the big chains. So it's kind of like a trickle down economic effect of like these big chains like Scooters and Dutch Bros Coffee.
Yeah.
Dutch Bros Coffee has grown a lot. Scooters has grown a lot. But you also said earlier you're working with a Wawa. So how does that work? Because I know like on the development side, Wawa has people where they're like, I guess you could call them like preferred developers, and they say, okay, find us a site, build them, they buy it from them after, they buy the site from them after, or they provide the financing for the entire thing, but then the developer just takes the fee at the end. So, those big developers that are retail developers, they might be doing like 25 Wawas a year, or 20 Starbucks a year, but how did you guys tap into those people, or was it more so asking the GCs like to make the introductions, like, because it's definitely not the type of thing where it's like, oh, I just knock on doors and people are like, oh, put a roof on for us.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of the big GCs down here that are doing Wawa, it's Albo Associates.
Yeah.
And Kevin did the groundwork on that relationship. He gets a lot of invitation to bids from a lot of GCs, but it's more of like consistency. If you're sending GCs like, bids and numbers after numbers after numbers, like I said before, it's like throwing crap at a wall and seeing what sticks.
Yeah.
So the more they get from you, they're like, okay, he's very tentative. He's putting in the time to work on getting us, accurate numbers, competitive numbers for this job. And so Albo's been doing a lot of Wawas, and it seems to be, they do the same thing we do when they get a project from a developer like Wawa. They have to bid it against other GCs as well.
Of course. Yeah.
So, but once you do one and you get your foot in the door, they're more inclined to give it to you because you've already done the project before. And Wawa, from what I've seen, it only has like 3 or 4 different variations of plans. So they're pretty much streamlined, all the same. There's like minor deviations between the different buildings, but they're pretty much all the same. So they like to stick with preferred vendors, people that have done it before, and that's kind of how we've gotten our foot in the door with them. We got one Wawa now. I would like to think we have another one on the docket. We got a couple that we've put numbers on. So they're definitely more inclined, especially if you don't give them problems throughout the job. You know what I mean? Like if they know you're there, you're doing your work, you do it well, they don't have a problem, they're not getting leaks. They're more than likely inclined continue to give you work.
Yeah, and I would think like the thing that's like better about being like a roofer, like when it comes to like a new development, is like you guys aren't the first person on site. Actually, you're towards the tail end of the job, so at least it gives those GCs like ample time to go bid out the price for the roofing. Because a lot of the times they just budget it, and let's say it's $100,000 or $250,000, depending on the project. They're actually able to have like a lot of time between the start of the project until then to go get that final bid in, which I guess could hurt the roofers in a way of like, oh, well, since they have more time to bid it out, they can bid it out to more than 3 people, maybe they could go out to 7 people, which makes it more competitive. But also, at the end of the day, then I guess, once you have done a couple projects underneath your belt and you have a good relationship with that GC, like GCs sure struggle down here trying to get subcontractors to the sites. And like, I dealt with this on my project is, like let's say a mason's got to follow an electrician or vice versa. It's like this guy, if he misses a day or two, now the electrician committed to another couple jobs, so now he's got to come back, but he can't come back till this guy comes back. So now you're, kind of at, a point in the road where the project just keeps getting delayed. So I think it's like, good subs is just like more so like accessibility. It's like, hey, you're gonna be here Tuesday, we need you here Tuesday, we need, if you start, and tell us you need 10 days to get it done, you better get it done within 10 days, because after 10 days come around, now we have this, new guy. It might be the plumber or the electrician that needs to come in to do something after the roof's up. So I think it's just a matter of getting, being accessible as a subcontractor to GCs.
It's definitely, and we deal with that a lot too. I would like to say the frustrating part about new construction jobs is, especially from a roofer standpoint, like you're working around all the other trades. You got to make sure the siders are doing their job correctly. You got to make sure the HVAC technicians aren't leaving screws and scrap pieces of metal up on the roof, because it happens every time. I mean, we deal with it literally on every single new construction job site. You'll have HVAC guys that leave screws up on the roof or shards of metal from when they're making their cuts and everything. And then when you have that much foot traffic on a new construction job up on the roof, like it's just bound to happen. Somebody's going to step on a screw, someone's going to step on a sharp cut piece of metal, and it's going to poke a hole in the membrane, and the first person they call is the roofer. Every single time. The amount of times we'll send a guy out there, or I'll go out there myself, and I'll see where the leak's coming from. I'm like, well, dude, here it is. You had an HVAC guy just crush a screw through our roof, and then we have to tend to that, or we have to pull someone off of a current project to go do some, a miscellaneous, task like that, which is, it gets annoying, but I mean, it's just the way the cookie crumbles with big commercial job sites.
Yeah.
You always have to, work around other people or wait for, other trades to do their stuff. That way it allows you to go in and do what you have to do.
Yeah, so that's on commercial, but I understand you guys have done some residential. So do you guys do residential as more so like we want our business to be 30% residential and 70% commercial? Is it more like a logic of we want to be in the commercial atmosphere? However, we're just taking, we built a new department in Florida, so we want to take filler work until we're able to be consistent in the commercial space.
Yeah, so our main goal right now is to become consistent with commercial. Like, once one job is finished up, they're immediately just jumping right on to the next one.
Yeah.
That's the main goal right now. Residential, I would like to build that up as much as I can. And I do have some plans for that, but to step into Florida in a residential market, it's definitely a humbling experience. And we've dealt with the growing pains of taking it on. But the thing is with the Florida residential market, it's not impossible to, get your leads and get your jobs, but without having connections with, whether it's an insurance company or, we've done it in the past before where we partner up with a solar company where, basically we give the homeowner an option to bundle both the solar and the roofing combined under one finance plan. And the whole goal of it is to essentially eliminate obviously your electric bill and then get that finance payment option below what your original electric bill is. So there's ways you can do it, but down here, I mean, the residential roofing market is so beyond flooded with contractors, and I wouldn't even say it's just other roofing companies. I mean, especially after Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton. I mean, you have regular just guys going out there that are handymen, and they're going and offering, I'll do your whole roof for a fraction of what this roofing company's offering you. You're not gonna get a warranty, you're not gonna get, we don't have insurance, stuff like that. But when you get a storm like that, a natural disaster, people aren't looking for the 5-star review company. They're not looking for who's licensed, who's insured. They're looking for convenience right out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they don't want any more stuff happening to their house. Whether they dealt with the flood, they dealt with water coming through the roof, like they just want it done as fast as possible. And if you want to do it the right way, it's obviously not going to be like, okay, hop up on my roof and do it. You know what I mean? Especially if you're going through an insurance claim or something like that. So it's definitely, it was humbling. It's still humbling to try and get your foot in the door with residential down here. But I mean, we got some plans in our back pocket. So
Yeah, what type of, so with you guys, is the insurance significantly more expensive, like going from like residential to commercial as like a roofing contractor? Are you guys just doing general liability, or do you guys have to have like a builder's risk policy?
we definitely do a builder's risk policy as well. But I know like every GC also has that on top of that. So
Yeah,
when you bid your jobs, pretty much they'll like, not every single GC, but most GCs will audit your policies to make sure everything matches what they have to. God forbid something were to happen. But yeah, I mean the insurance is definitely pretty crazy for a roofing company. I mean, when you go and get your policy written, like it has to be specifically tailored to your company on like what you do, the services you offer, whether you're doing architectural shingle, metal, standing seam, commercial. Like they will custom tailor your policy because you got to cover all ends. You got to cross your T's and dot your I's. God forbid something ever happened.
Yeah, so, with that being said, you guys come down here, you guys, try to build up a brand. How's RK getting their name out in the Tampa Bay market? Like, obviously, we're on a show today, this will help, but, how do you guys continue to plan on get your name out? And do you guys plan on taking more people from New York, down here, or do you guys plan on just building up down here and keeping your current workers in New York?
So I think right now the goal is keep the workers in New York there. I mean, they're pretty occupied. They're pretty busy up north right now.
Yeah.
Which is good. But we would like to definitely grow down here. And it's right now this is all the groundwork that we're doing. So this is like the building blocks that's going to set the stage for the following couple of years coming up. And I definitely would like to bring people on down here, especially as like the workload grows. It's just not going to be possible for two guys to do on their own. It would be a lot.
You need a team.
Yeah, you need a team. You need people in the right places that can successfully do their job and be able to take on that workload. So I think looking forward, we would definitely like to bring people on. We would like to grow the company, but right now, I think for getting our name out there, obviously this is something good. But we've been really focusing on continuing to grow the relationships we have with GCs. Because when you got your foot in the door with a GC and like they've been giving you a lot of work, they'll keep you busy. You know what I mean? If they're happy with your work, they'll keep you busy. So a lot of the work we're doing right now is pretty much repeating customers, repeating GCs. So they'll take on a project. They're like, okay, we worked with them before. We know they do good work. So they'll automatically send us a bid and stuff like that, or send us an invitation to bid. And we're at the point with a couple of GCs down here where we have phone calls with them multiple times a week. Just the other day in Orlando, there's another site that we're going to be doing soon. It's the Burger King, and it's like 5 minutes away from the wall we're doing. And we popped in to see how they're doing. You know what I mean? Like it had nothing to do with work to see how they're doing, but like those are like the small gestures that really grow a relationship. Shows that you care. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So definitely, I think it gets the warm and fuzzies out of the way with some big GCs.
Yeah, so like in my construction projects, like a lot of people just stop by with their cards and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like that definitely helps. I think that it's a business to bid, like how you're growing it is business to business, not business to consumer. So it's a lot different. But a lot of people suggest, I know this is huge in the Google ad space is market like a roofing business. But that's great if you're particularly only looking to do residential. I think when you're looking to do commercial, you're looking to build that consistent workflow. It's more about having the right, GC record and making sure those GCs are qualified too.
Yeah.
Because the last thing you want is some owner saying, hey, we're going to sue the GC because of something, and then the GC just ends up suing the subs,
Yeah.
and it just becomes like a trickle down effect. So you guys, before you even like say, hey, look, we're gonna build a relationship with this guy, like you guys gotta make sure that, you know, past clients are very happy with them, especially if it's like private work as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you gotta vet your clients. And the private work too, like we get a lot of leads from manufacturers as well. Like I was kind of touching on Duralast before. Duralast is a manufacturer. They make a lot of PVC roofing systems that we always do. And like I was in the labor end before this, and out of every single manufacturer I've ever used, Duralast was hands down my favorite. You know, it's in my opinion the best roofing solution and system that you can put on your place on a commercial property as opposed to anything out there. And I'm not knocking other big name brands like GAF and Carlisle and Versco and stuff like that. Like they're good too, and they, you know, it really depends what you're looking to do. Every system's kind of used for something different, and they all have different specs and stuff like that. But you know, with Duralast, we've built a really good relationship with them to the point where, you know, our regional sales rep, like I can call him up, and you know, he gave me this not too long ago. He literally gave me a list. And there was probably like 200 or 300 different buildings just in the Pinellas County, Hillsborough County area that have Duralast roofs on it. That their warranties are going to be expiring in the next 1 to 5 years, or if not already expired. And it gives me all their information. He's like, dude, these are all leads that you can have.
Yeah.
You know, it's you know, it's up to the sales guy to go and you know, make something out of it. But it's when you have a relationship, even with suppliers and GCs and stuff like that, like just that difference will give you, you know, just an advantage on somebody else.
Yeah. So I guess the question is like that I have is like as you start to see more of these retail buildings, like it's funny, it's like if you ever look at like the memes of like the old Wendy's versus the new Wendy's, and like stuff like that, like what I'm seeing is, and this is also holds true in residential, especially if people build that like nice beach homes and stuff, there's a lot more of the pack clad roofing.
Okay, yeah.
So like how have you seen things shift? Because like you guys might get calls, and you know it's going to start happening is the industrialism in Florida as you look at like some of these old Wendy's buildings that are converted to new Wendy's, and the old Wendy's buildings were like the ones with the sunroof, like the sunroom, and now it's like this like nice gray building, the logo looks tight, like they did a really good job with it. So are you guys getting any calls from like existing buildings that are like, hey, we want like a whole new facade on this thing?
We don't specifically get calls about that. That's more of like Burger King. Well, I'll use Burger King as an example because Burger King's going through like an entire
brand change.
Yeah, exactly. And so we've been getting a lot of those. And I mean, you'll get up on the roof there, and it's a disaster. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they'll go more to a GC, where Burger King Construction will go to a GC or developer and be like, hey, look, this is what we want to do. They'll bring in architects and stuff like that. But then we'll get the plan set for it, and it's like a complete remodel.
Yeah.
But they're so outdated that, from what I've gathered and from what some of these GCs have told me that have been doing these projects, it's like it becomes so much work that it's price point cheaper to just bulldoze the place and start from ground up on those.
Yeah.
Because there's just so much work that has to go into it that you're literally getting into the ballpark of, okay, it's going to be cheaper if I just drive a D8 through this thing. You know what I mean? I mean, that's just the way it goes when because I think a lot of these big chains too, like, they'll throw them up as fast as they can, and this is like, 20 years ago, and then everything else is just neglected when it comes to building. You know what I mean? Like, they don't maintain it and stuff like that, or they'll try and do like Band-Aid work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If something happens, okay, we'll throw a Band-Aid on it. We'll do a patch here, we'll do a patch there. And it's over time, it's like, dude, you have an entire roof system of patches on your roof right now. Like, you gotta do something about this. But yeah, I mean, the industry's definitely changed over, the past, I would say 20 years. Like, systems have changed. A lot of stuff is pretty much obsolete, especially down here in Florida. Like, EPDM systems are just obsolete. Your cooling cost is gonna go through the roof, literally.
Yeah.
You have a black membrane on a roof in the Florida sun. It's just absorbing so much heat, and over time it gets so brittle. So I think it's definitely changed over time. A lot of the big systems you're seeing these days are like either a TPO or a PVC membrane. And it's probably the most bang for your buck you're gonna get.
Yeah, so explain the membrane part, because like viewers are not gonna necessarily understand, be like, what's a membrane of like a roof?
Yeah, so it's basically a roofing material. Like, it's a PVC membrane. It's it's PVC,
Yeah,
but it's
right.
extremely pliable, and they have different mills. They have like 040, 050, 060, and that's just basically the thickness of the actual membrane. And inside of it, it's literally like gridded out tensils. It's strings. So basically, like they'll put, there's obviously specs for all this stuff, but like the thicker the mill, the stronger that membrane's going to be. And obviously, the thicker the mill too, and depending what you're putting under it, like whether you're putting 2 layers of insulation board, like an R30, or you're putting 2 layers and then a cover board on top of that, like this is all going to add to your warranty, and you're going to be able to get a longer term warranty for your actual roof itself.
Yeah, now how long are the warranties on roofs? Is it like very commercial or residential?
Yeah. So when you get into Florida, it's kind of tricky. Like I had to learn all this stuff brand new, basically. A lot of the stuff it can be warranted on the residential end in New York is not a thing down here.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say it's 15 years. Every 15 years on a residential house, like in Florida, you have to get your roof replaced. 15 to 20 years. And if you don't, I mean, there's nobody that's going to come knocking on your door at day 1 of year 15.
Yeah.
It's going to be like, get this done,
Yeah.
But your insurance company may drop you. Like if you don't replace it. So warranty wise, we always push Atlas Pinnacle Pristine shingle.
Yeah.
That's like the best shingle you can get on the market. It's very comparable with other prices like GAF and Timberline and Tremco and stuff like that. But you're gonna get up north, if you were to do it, you're gonna get a lifetime warranty. And it doesn't start prorating until like year 35.
So when you guys price it out then, like if you guys just do like a shingle roof, like are you guys pricing out like per square foot, or is it like per like X amount of shingles? Like how do you guys get the bid and say, okay, we know this material is gonna cost us this much to do?
So we do per square. So
Okay.
1 square of roofing shingles is 100 square feet. So we'll do per square. And I mean, down here, we're still kind of testing our prices with residential just to see what takes and what doesn't. But from what I've seen, like the average price to be competitive in this market is like 500 a square, and that's rip and replace.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's honestly pretty reasonable, because not only that, but like houses down here too, they're not. There's nothing crazy going on with them. You know what I mean? Like even like a really really nice house. It's a simple roof. It's a simple up and over, maybe a valley or 2 here and there. They're also not like pitched roofs. You know what I mean? Like you can walk on them. They're usually like 4, 5, 6 pitch roof. You go up north in New York and it's like you're walking on a 12-12 and you got to have a harness and a rope up there 24/7 when you're you're gonna take a tumble off. But it's pretty simple. So I would say that's a pretty fair competitive price for asphalt shingle down here.
Yeah, definitely. So with that being said, if people are GCs out there, they're in any of the trades, or they're even a resident looking to build a home and getting their new roof done, how can they contact and find RK? What's the fastest method? And just talk about that.
So fastest method, honestly, would probably just be to call me.
Yeah.
But if you were to go on our website, it's rkroofers.com, and you can literally go on there, and if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of services, it'll say Instant Estimator, and you can literally put in your address, and then it's going to ask you a couple information like your phone number, your email, and your address, obviously, but it'll literally give you an estimate, a range of what it's going to cost to do your house. It takes a satellite imagery of your house, it pulls everything I need to know to get them the price. It'll pull, linear footage of rakes and eaves, your square footage of your house, the pitch of your roof. So it'll show me everything.